The torpedo drops clean from the Avenger's belly, falling toward black Pacific water 200 feet below. It enters the surface nose first, exactly as trained, exactly as drilled in 1,000 practice runs. Then it tumbles. The weapon cartwheels through the water like a thrown bottle, gyroscope failing, depth mechanism jammed. It spirals downward past the Japanese destroyer steaming 10 knots toward Guadalcanal. The destroyer's hull passes 15 feet overhead. The torpedo continues sinking until pressure crushes its casing at 300 feet. On the surface, the Avenger banks away, trailing smoke from a 20-millimeter hit. The pilot radios the result with words nobody wants to hear. Another dud. The destroyer keeps steaming. The convoy reaches Guadalcanal 3 hours later with 5,000 fresh troops. It's August 1942, and American torpedoes fail more often than they work. Before we continue the story of how American engineers turned the worst weapon in the Navy into the deadliest ship killer in the Pacific, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And tell me where you're listening from. Which city? Which state? I'm curious to know who's ready to discover what happened when ingenuity met desperation. The failure rate should be impossible. 70%. 7 out of 10 American aerial torpedoes either fail to detonate, run too deep, break apart on impact, or simply sink like dropped anchors. The Mark 13 aerial torpedo entered service in 1935, carrying the Navy's confidence and a price tag of $10,000 each. It weighs 2,000 pounds, spans 13 feet, and contains 600 pounds of Torpex explosive. On paper, it's devastating. In combat, it's a floating humiliation. Pilots drop at perfect altitude, perfect speed, perfect angle. They watch their weapons strike enemy hulls and bounce off like thrown rocks. Some torpedoes explode prematurely, detonating 100 yards from the target. Others run in circles. A few turn back toward the aircraft that launched them, chasing their own creators. Lieutenant Jack Harmon sits in the ready room aboard USS Enterprise, somewhere east of the Solomon Islands. Around him, 23 pilots wait for the afternoon briefing. They're torpedo squadron aviators flying TBF Avengers, the Navy's newest carrier bomber. The aircraft are magnificent, tough, powerful, capable of absorbing punishment and reaching targets 100 miles from the carrier. The torpedoes they carry are garbage. Harmon lost his wingman yesterday over a Japanese cruiser. The torpedo dropped perfectly, entered the water clean, ran straight for 8 seconds, then porpoised. It leapt from the water like a dolphin, exposing its propeller to the air, then crashed back down nose first and exploded. The cruiser steamed through the blast without slowing. His wingman never pulled out of the attack run. Japanese anti-aircraft fire shredded the Avenger at 400 feet. Harmon watched it cartwheel into the ocean, trailing burning fuel. The intelligence officer pins photographs to the briefing board. Reconnaissance images from Rabaul showing Japanese transports, destroyers, supply ships. Fat targets sitting in harbor. The mission brief is straightforward. Launch at dawn, fly 200 miles to target, attack shipping in harbor, return to carrier. Simple on paper, suicidal in practice. Rabaul bristles with anti-aircraft guns, defending one of Japan's most important forward bases. Attacking those ships means flying through walls of flak while carrying torpedoes that probably won't detonate. Harmon raises his hand. "Sir, respectfully, What's the backup plan if the fish don't run? The intelligence officer's face doesn't change. He knows the statistics. Everyone knows. The backup plan is death. Attack again. Drop more torpedoes. Hope probability eventually favors success. The Navy doesn't have alternatives. American submarines carry the same defective weapons. Surface ships can't approach Japanese harbors without aircraft support. Carrier bombers must use torpedoes because dive bombing can't penetrate armored decks on large warships. The tactical logic is sound. The weapons are broken. The men die anyway. The briefing continues. Launch time 0530 hours. Expected return 0930. Weather clear. Enemy resistance heavy. Probability of success classified. Probability of survival? Don't ask. Harmon flies the mission because orders exist and honor demands compliance. His Avenger lifts from Enterprise in pre-dawn darkness, joining 17 others forming up over the carrier. The formation climbs to 8,000 feet, heading northwest toward Rabaul. The sun rises behind them, painting the ocean gold and pink. Beautiful morning to die. The coastline appears at 0710 hours, green jungle rising to volcanic peaks. Rabaul Harbor opens before them, crowded with shipping. 12 transports, 6 destroyers. A light cruiser. Targets everywhere. Also, anti-aircraft positions everywhere. The squadron commander's voice crackles over the radio, calm as Sunday church. Armed torpedoes. Individual attack on my mark. Good hunting. The Avengers peel off in sequence, diving toward attack altitude. Harmon rolls inverted, pulling through, leveling at 200 feet above the water. His torpedo is armed, ready, worthless. The harbor rushes toward him at 200 knots. Tracers rise like luminous snakes, red and yellow streams crisscrossing his flight path. Something hits the starboard wing, punching through aluminum. Harmon ignores it. Target selected. Transport ship, maybe 8,000 tons, sitting low with cargo. Range decreasing. 1,000 yards, 800. The transport grows enormous in his windscreen. He can see sailors running on deck, gun crews swiveling their weapons toward him. 500 yards. He releases the torpedo, hauling back on the stick immediately. The Avenger claws for altitude, engines screaming. Behind him, the torpedo enters the water. Harmon doesn't watch. He's focused on escaping the flak box, getting clear before something vital gets hit. 10 seconds later, nothing explodes. He risks a glance back. The transport still floats, unmoved, crew still running. His torpedo either sank or ran deep or failed to detonate. $14,000 of taxpayer money gone. Another mission wasted. Another weapon that betrayed the warrior who trusted it. The squadron reforms 30 miles east, counting losses. 3 aircraft missing. 2 damaged badly enough they'll ditch near the carrier. 1 transport possibly damaged by a torpedo that actually worked. 15 weapons dropped. 1 hit. 6% success rate. Harmon lands aboard Enterprise with fuel fumes in the tank and rage in his chest. This can't continue. The math doesn't support survival. At 6% effectiveness, every target requires 17 attempts. The Japanese will kill everyone long before probability favors success. The after-action report goes up the chain of command like a dozen others before it. Fleet headquarters in Pearl Harbor receives casualty notifications and weapon failure statistics in equal measure. Admiral Chester Nimitz reads them personally. Face expressionless, mind calculating. American industry produces carriers, aircraft, and trained pilots faster than Japan can match. That advantage means nothing if the weapons don't work. Nimitz calls Captain William Blandy, Bureau of Ordnance. The conversation lasts 4 minutes. Blandy's orders are simple. Fix the torpedoes or find someone who can. No excuses, no delays. The Pacific War depends on it. Blandy summons Lieutenant Commander Eugene Lawson to Washington within 48 hours. Lawson flies from Pearl Harbor, wondering if he's being court-martialed. He's a naval architect, engineering background, spent 6 months at Naval Torpedo Station in Newport before deploying to the Pacific. He understands the Mark 13's design problems better than most. He also understands military bureaucracy's resistance to admitting error. The Bureau of Ordnance insisted for 2 years that crew technique caused the failures. Pilots dropping wrong altitude, wrong speed, wrong angle. Except Lawson watched perfect drops fail. Watched textbook attacks produce duds. The problem isn't the crews, it's the weapon. Saying that loudly enough to matter requires rank he doesn't possess. Blandy meets him in an office overlooking the Potomac. Door closed, coffee poured. No pleasantries. He slides a folder across the desk, thick enough to stop bullets. Inside, failure reports from every torpedo squadron in the Pacific Fleet. 500 pages documenting mechanical breakdowns, premature detonations, depth control failures, exploder malfunctions. The aggregate data is damning. The Mark 13 torpedo is fundamentally defective at every critical junction. Its wooden tail fins disintegrate on water impact. Its depth mechanism jams above 8 knots entry speed. Its magnetic exploder triggers on Earth's magnetic field instead of steel hulls. The contact exploder's firing pin binds under oblique impacts. Every system contains flaws that compound each other catastrophically. Blandy lights a cigarette and speaks through smoke. Fix it! I don't care how. I don't care what it costs. You have unlimited authority to requisition materials, personnel, facilities. Test whatever you want. Break whatever needs breaking. But fix the damn torpedo, Commander, or we'll lose this war, drowning Japanese ships in American bodies. Lawson returns to Newport with blank checks and borrowed time. The torpedo station sprawls along Narragansett Bay. Brick buildings and test facilities, where engineers have worked on the Mark 13 since 1935. A decade of incremental improvements that never addressed fundamental problems. The institutional culture prizes refinement over radical redesign. Lawson brings different priorities. Make it work or start over. He assembles a team from frustrated engineers who've been filing ignored reports for years. They strip torpedoes to components, testing every piece independently. The failures multiply under scrutiny. The tail assembly's wooden fins were chosen for cost savings, despite knowing wood deteriorates in seawater. The depth mechanism was designed for slow-speed submarine launches, not high-speed aerial drops. The magnetic exploder was brilliant theory, terrible practice. It detonates on magnetic anomalies that have nothing to do with enemy hulls. The redesign happens at wartime pace. Engineers work 100-hour weeks, sleeping in workshops, testing components until they understand exactly where failures originate. The wooden tail fins get replaced with reinforced steel, increasing weight but ensuring survival through water impact. The depth mechanism receives complete overhaul, new components rated for entry speeds up to 120 knots. The magnetic exploder gets disabled entirely, Contact detonation only. The way torpedoes worked before, someone decided to improve perfection. It's humbling. It's necessary. They're building what should have existed in 1935. By January 1943, the modified Mark 13 shows promise in bay tests. Reliability climbs from 30% to 60%. Still inadequate, still improving. The breakthrough comes from unexpected direction. Navy demonstrates new airborne radar to Lawson in March 1943. The AN-APS-3 system fits in bomber nose compartments, sending radio pulses that bounce off metal objects and return as glowing contacts on a circular screen. The demonstration aircraft finds a destroyer at 40 miles range through complete cloud cover. Lawson watches the demonstration and immediately understands implications that transcend detection. If aircraft can locate ships in darkness and weather, Japanese convoys lose their primary defense, invisibility. If radar eliminates visual requirement, attack becomes independent of conditions. The tactical advantage shifts from hunted to hunter. Prey becomes predator. Lawson writes a proposal that night connecting both innovations. Improved torpedoes provide reliability. Airborne radar provides detection. Combined, they create weapon system capable of interdicting enemy logistics regardless of darkness, weather, or evasive routing. American bombers could hunt Japanese convoys like submarines hunt shipping, except faster, more flexible, covering vastly larger search areas. The strategic implications are staggering. Japan's entire war economy depends on maritime logistics. Oil from Dutch East Indies, rice from Indochina, troops reinforcing bypassed garrisons. Everything moves by ship. Radar-equipped bombers with reliable torpedoes could strangle those supply lines completely. Lawson delivers his proposal to Blandy by courier at dawn. Blandy forwards it to Nimitz before lunch. Approval returns by close of business with 2 words in Nimitz's handwriting: execute immediately. The testing accelerates through spring. Modified Mark 13 torpedoes reach 90% reliability by May. The weapons survive drops at 300 knots from 400 feet altitude, parameters that would have destroyed original models. Success rate in test drops climbs past 85%. The improved weapon works. Now it needs aircraft. The TBF Avenger remains primary carrier-based torpedo bomber, but Lawson focuses on land-based alternatives for maximum range and payload. The B-25 Mitchell bomber emerges as ideal platform. Twin-engine design provides power and survivability. Existing maritime variants already carry torpedoes. The bomb bay accommodates AN-APS-3 radar with minimal modification. By July 1943, the first operational units deploy to the Pacific, carrying both improved torpedoes and functioning radar systems. The mathematics of naval warfare is about to change permanently. Captain Paul Gunn receives the first modified B-25s at WWII Airfield on New Guinea's northern coast. Gunn commands the 345th Bomb Group, officially designated Air Apaches. They're already legendary for low-level shipping strikes using forward-mounted machine guns. Gunn personally modified dozens of B-25s, adding 8 50-caliber guns in the nose to suppress anti-aircraft fire during attack runs. Now he's integrating radar and improved torpedoes into tactics pioneered through brutal experience. The combination should be devastating. Should. Combat tests theory with blood. The first radar-equipped mission launches September 12, 1943. 6 B-25s hunting Japanese convoy reported steaming toward WWII, carrying reinforcements for bypassed garrisons. Intelligence estimates 8 freighters, 4 destroyer escorts. The convoy maintains radio silence, hiding in weather front. Perfect conditions for evasion under old doctrine. Suicide to approach without visual confirmation. Gunn leads the mission personally, trusting instruments and physics over instinct and experience. They launch at 0400 hours, climbing through darkness into storm clouds. The formation holds position, using radar returns from each other, navigation lights extinguished, invisible to everything except their own sensors. The radar operator, Sergeant Thomas Chen from San Francisco, stares at the green circular screen showing coastline features as bright returns. Rivers, headlands, bays, all distinct against darker ocean. He's 20 years old, worked as radio repairman before the war, learned radar in 3-month crash course that barely explained the theory. Now he's tracking targets for weapons drops worth millions of dollars each. His voice stays calm over the intercom despite adrenaline flooding his system. Surface contacts bearing 110 degrees, range 42 miles. Multiple vessels, count 8 separate returns. Speed approximately 10 knots, course 270. Confidence high, Gunn acknowledges without emotion. He's flown 200 combat missions over 3 years. Seen everything Pacific combat offers. Survived longer than probability predicted. This is different though. Hunting blind. Trusting electronics to find targets human eyes can't see. He adjusts course toward the bearing, descending to attack altitude. 200 feet above black water, 280 knots airspeed. The other 5 bombers follow in loose formation, each radar operator tracking the same contacts. The convoy appears at 6 miles, dark silhouettes barely visible against slightly lighter water. No searchlights, no tracers. They don't know death approaches at 4 miles per minute. Gunn selects the largest freighter, probably 10,000 tons, judging by displacement. Chen confirms, target locked. Gunn arms the torpedo, checking indicators. All green, all ready. At 1 mile, he opens fire with 8 nose-mounted .50 calibers. 6,000 rounds per minute shred the freighter's superstructure. Gun crews die before they can return fire. Gunn releases the torpedo at 600 yards, immediately banking hard right and climbing. The weapon separates cleanly, falling toward water. It hits surface nose first, tail fins stabilizing the descent. Splash. Submersion. Propeller ignition. The torpedo runs straight, depth control maintaining optimal 18 feet. 10 seconds after water entry, it strikes the freighter between the first and second cargo holds. The explosion blows hull plates outward, water flooding interior spaces. The freighter lists immediately, settling by the bow. 2 more explosions ripple across the convoy as other B-25s strike simultaneously. Another freighter, then a destroyer catching a torpedo that missed its primary target. The destroyer breaks in half, magazines detonating. Fire erupts from ruptured fuel bunkers. The convoy scatters without coordination, captains reacting to attacks from unknown directions. By the time tracers fill sky, the bombers are gone, racing southeast at full throttle. The mission debriefing lasts 3 hours. Photo reconnaissance confirms 3 ships sunk, 2 heavily damaged. No American aircraft lost. No combat damage beyond light flak hits. The tactical execution was clinical. Attack that felt like training exercise. Locate contact. Follow bearing. execute attack, return home. The Japanese convoy limps back to Palau, carrying less than half its cargo. Troops that didn't drown won't reinforce WWII. Supplies that sank won't feed garrisons. Strategic impact measurable in months of combat averted. Admiral Nimitz receives the report in Pearl Harbor and immediately authorizes expansion. More radar units, more modified bombers, more improved torpedoes. Full production authority. The Bureau of Ordnance accelerates manufacturing. Newport Torpedo Station runs 3 shifts. Aircraft modification centers work around the clock installing radar systems. Pilot training includes new doctrine, all-weather operations, night attacks, radar-guided interception. The paradigm shifts from reactive defense to aggressive interdiction. Japanese convoys that once moved freely now face threats in any weather, any darkness, any ocean conditions. Visibility stops mattering. Detection becomes inevitable. Engagement becomes certain. The pattern repeats through autumn 1943 and into 1944. Japanese convoys depart Truk, Palau, Singapore. American radar finds them, regardless of weather, darkness, evasive routing. The Mark 13's improved reliability means successful drops become sinking ships 85% of the time. Japanese merchant losses accelerate. October 1943, 11 freighters. November, 15. December, 19. January 1944, 23. The numbers exclude damaged vessels or cargo dumped to stay afloat. Japan started the war with 6 million tons of merchant shipping. Submarines and aircraft reduced that tonnage monthly. The radar-guided bomber attacks strike where defenses are weakest, in transit, between ports, unable to call for reinforcement. Lieutenant Robert Hayes joins the 345th in January 1944, fresh from flight school and specialized training. He's 21, from Texas, grew up working oil fields, learned to fly because military service beat infantry. His radar operator, Corporal James Liu from Los Angeles, operated movie projectors before the war. Together, they fly their first combat mission against convoy evacuating Rabaul. 5 freighters, escorted by cruisers and destroyers. Hayes's hands shake during pre-flight. Liu stays calm, running equipment checks methodically. The bomber lifts off Manus Island at 0230 hours, one of 10 aircraft hunting the same targets. Liu's radar picks up convoy at 38 miles. He calls bearings while Hayes adjusts course, descending toward attack altitude. Ocean looks black beneath them. No moon. Clouds at 800 feet. Liu tracks convoy course and speed, calculating interception. His voice remains steady, despite never having done this in combat. Target bearing 092, range 21 miles, count 6 vessels. 2 appear destroyer-sized. Formation in 2 columns. Hayes acknowledges, throat dry. Other crews report similar contacts. Formation spreads for simultaneous attack. Hayes targets the 3rd freighter in column. Liu marks it, providing continuous range updates. 15 miles. 10. The convoy materializes at 5 miles, darker shapes on dark ocean. No warning to them. Hayes arms torpedo, watching indicators sequence green. At 2 miles he fires nose guns, tracers walking toward the freighter. Return fire starts immediately, automatic cannon and machine guns firing blindly into darkness.
Hayes drops torpedo at 700 yards, banking hard and climbing. Weapon falls, hits water, runs straight. 15 seconds to impact. Hayes focuses on avoiding collision with another B-25 attacking from different angle. The explosion lights his peripheral vision orange. Liu confirms hit on radar, freighter slowing dramatically. 2 more torpedoes strike other vessels. Hayes pushes throttles forward, heading for open water. Tracers chase but fall short. The formation reforms, all aircraft accounted for. Hayes's hands still shake. Liu marks first mission complete in log. Neither mentions fear. That's for letters home.
The missions become routine through practice. Night attacks against convoys, radar-guided approaches, high-speed strikes, return to base, debrief, sleep through morning heat, brief for next mission. Hayes flies 31 missions in 3 months. Liu's radar tracks 52 ships, 41 confirmed sunk or damaged. They lose friends, aircraft that don't return, crews that ditch in ocean or crash in jungle. The math favors survival, but never guarantees it. Hayes stops counting after first dozen missions. War becomes series of isolated presence, each mission separate from last and next. Focus narrows to immediate tasks. Everything else fades. The strategic impact cascades through Japanese logistics. Garrisons in New Guinea and Bismarcks starve without resupply. Ammunition runs low. Replacement troops never arrive. Ground commanders face constraints unthinkable 2 years earlier. A Japanese colonel captured on Bougainville carries documents showing his regiment at 28% strength, subsisting on foraged food and captured rice. His orders instruct him to hold indefinitely. No reinforcement possible. No resupply scheduled. Hold until relieved or annihilated. American forces advancing toward his position find abandoned defenses, evidence of malnutrition, garrison unable to sustain combat. They surrender after 4-day battle that should have lasted weeks.
Japan attempts countermeasures. Some convoys mount additional anti-aircraft guns, creating overlapping fire zones. Others sail at night under fighter cover when possible. Gambling visual detection allows intercept before torpedo range. They develop radar detectors warning of approaching aircraft. Electronic jamming systems that blind American radars. Improved anti-aircraft predictors tracking low-altitude targets. The innovations slow losses, but don't stop them. American engineers counter every adaptation. Radar homing missiles follow Japanese emissions back to source. Chaff creates false returns hiding actual aircraft. Torpedoes gain acoustic homing tracking propeller noise. The technological race never pauses. Each side adapts. Americans adapt faster. The Philippines campaign begins October 1944.
American forces land at Leyte, pushing toward Manila. Japanese reinforcement convoys sail from Formosa and Singapore. The 345th relocates to Philippine bases, flying from airstrips captured days earlier. Operational tempo accelerates. 3 missions daily during peak periods.
Hayes flies 64 missions in October and November combined. Some last 5 hours. Others stretch past 8. He learns to sleep in cockpit during transit, letting Liu monitor radar while autopilot flies programmed headings. Fatigue accumulates invisibly. measurable only by how long pilots stare at nothing between missions.
The Battle of Leyte Gulf in late October reshapes everything. Largest naval engagement in history. American carriers, battleships, destroyers crush remaining Japanese fleet units. Strategic calculation shifts permanently. Japan can no longer contest naval supremacy. Their convoys sail knowing interception is likely. Some succeed through luck or exceptional escort. Most don't. Hayes sinks his 19th ship November 7th. Transport carrying tanks and artillery. Torpedo strikes center mass, detonating ammunition. Explosion blows ship in half. Both sections capsize within minutes. Hayes watches from 3 miles out, banking toward home. Liu marks it in log without comment. One more victory. One more Japanese unit that won't fight on Leyte.
Japan attempts final convoy gambit, December 1944. Operation Takeichi, supplies to Manila under maximum escort. 3 cruisers, 7 destroyers, 6 transports. The plan involves daylight sailing under heavy fighter cover. Concentration of force overwhelming individual attacks. Intelligence reaches American headquarters 48 hours before convoy sails. Admiral Thomas Kincaid orders every available bomber into coordinated strikes. The 345th contributes 34 B-25s. Navy patrol bombers add 18. Marine squadrons send their operational inventory. Largest single anti-shipping strike of the Pacific War. Hayes draws second wave assignment. Liu plots approach, while mechanics load torpedoes. Brief lasts 90 minutes. Recognition charts, timing sequences, radio frequencies, search and rescue coordinates. Everyone understands stakes. This convoy represents Japan's last major resupply. Success gives Manila Garrison months of capability. Failure ends Japanese logistics to Philippines. First wave launches dawn. Second follows 2 hours later. Hayes's aircraft joins formation, assembling over ocean. 49 bombers heading same coordinates. Liu tracks progress while monitoring radio chatter from first wave. First wave engaging. Multiple hits confirmed. Heavy flak. Enemy fighters inbound. Hayes processes information clinically. Heavy flak means concentrated escorts. Enemy fighters mean carriers launched intercepts or land-based scrambles. Second wave flies into alerted defenses. No surprise, he checks weapons again. Torpedo armed, guns loaded, fuel sufficient with 30-minute reserve. Liu confirms contacts at 32 miles. Multiple vessels, 2 groups, 1 slowing. Second wave descends. Hayes's element targets damaged vessel. Cripples are easier than healthy ships. Cold calculation necessary. Convoy appears at 8 miles, visible in morning light. 1 transport lists, trailing oil. 2 destroyers circle close, laying smoke. Remaining transports steam maximum speed. Cruisers escorting. Japanese fighters swarm overhead. Zeros and converted bombers. B-25s push through. American fighters couldn't escort this deep. Bombers fly alone, accept mutual support. Hayes approaches from southwest, angling toward crippled transport. Flak brackets altitude immediately. Black bursts, close enough to rock aircraft. Hayes holds course. Liu counts range. 5 miles. 4. 3. Fighters breaking toward us. High 9 o'clock. Hayes sees them. 3 Zeros diving from clouds.
He calls warning, continuing approach. Nose gunner engages, tracers reaching toward fighters. Zeros scatter, breaking off. Low fuel, probably, or ammunition. One makes half-hearted pass and pulls away. Transport fills windscreen at 1 mile. Hayes fires all nose guns, raking superstructure. Return fire answers, 20mm cannon, machine guns, everything the transport musters. Windscreen cracks. Something impacts left engine with loud bang. Hayes releases torpedo at 700 yards, banking hard left, climbing. Torpedo runs true. Explosion blows out transport bottom. Ship settles rapidly, sinking stern first. List increases past 45 degrees. Cargo slides off deck. Vehicles, crates, equipment tumbling into ocean. Destroyers close for rescue. Hayes clears area full throttle. Chen checking damage. Left engine runs rough, oil pressure dropping. Hayes feathers prop, shutting down. B-25 handles heavy single engine, but remains controllable. They'll make home. Behind them, convoy dissolves under continued attacks. Afternoon reconnaissance shows 4 transports sunk, 2 beached, escorts scattered. Operation Takeichi fails completely. Manila fights with existing supplies. Timeline compresses toward inevitable American victory. Hayes lands single engine at Tacloban, brakes smoking. Ground crews swarm, assessing damage. 27 holes in fuselage, left engine destroyed, hydraulic line severed. Lou climbs out, tired but satisfied. Survived another. Hayes writes report mechanically. Target destroyed, aircraft damaged, crew uninjured. Numbers that matter. That night, squadron celebrates with contraband whiskey. 15 bombers from 49 launched returned. Acceptable losses given results. Acceptable tactically. Humanly, 34 crews didn't come home. Hayes drinks and doesn't talk about it. Technological dominance peaks, early 1945. Japanese convoys become rare. Individual ships sail independently, when they sail at all. Submarines carry most critical supplies. Surface vessels restricted to coastal runs under heavy escort. Mark 13 evolves into Mark 13-5, with acoustic homing guiding weapon toward propeller noise. Drop parameters expand. Aircraft release at 500 knots from 500 feet. Improved weapon works in rough seas, destroying original design. Success exceeds 90%. Few Japanese ships sailing stand almost no chance if detected. The final accounting arrives after surrender. American forces capture Japanese logistics records documenting losses. Numbers validate claims precisely. January 1943 through August 1945. Radar-equipped aircraft sink or damage 81% of intercepted convoys. Vessels surviving aircraft fall to submarines 63% of time. Combination proves insurmountable. Japan began war with 6 million tons merchant shipping. By surrender, less than 1 million tons operational. Rest scattered across Pacific floor, sunk by weapons finding them through darkness, weather, smoke. Post-war analysis reveals layers of innovation, changing warfare permanently. Mark 13's transformation from unreliable weapon to ship killer proves engineering persistence overcomes design failures. Radar integration demonstrates sensor technology multiplying weapon effectiveness. Combined system creates capabilities unmatched for decades. Modern anti-ship missiles trace lineage directly here. Radar guidance, high-speed approach, fire and forget engagement. Concepts emerged from desperate necessity 1943.
became operational doctrine 1944, shaped tactics into 21st century.
Hayes returns to Texas, resumes oil work, never discusses missions outside family. Nightmares fade over years but never disappear. He wakes occasionally, 0300 hours, sweating, hearing phantom engines. Lou opens electronics shop in Los Angeles, building successful business from radar maintenance skills. They reunite once, 1968 squadron gathering. Shake hands, share beer, talk about nothing important. Past sits between them. They understand perfectly without words. War shaped them, but doesn't define them. The 345th's legacy persists through records and memory. 531 confirmed Japanese ships destroyed over 3 years. 2,900 combat missions. 426 aircraft lost. 3,214 crew casualties. Statistics measure cost and effectiveness in ways feeling insufficient and overwhelming. Numbers can't capture cumulative weight of repeated danger, strain of night missions, relief of survival. But numbers prove system worked. Technology evolved concept to dominance in 36 months. Japanese convoys, sailing confidently 1942, avoided open water entirely 1945. That transformation represents ultimate validation of innovation under pressure. The weapons evolved beyond recognition. Mark 13's descendants include supersonic missiles with sophisticated seekers and networking. B-25 successors fly stealth bombers or unmanned drones controlled from continents away. Yet fundamental challenge remains identical. Detect target, deliver weapon accurately, assess damage, return safely. 4 steps encompassing every strike mission regardless of platform. The 345th proved they could execute consistently with 1940s technology. Modern forces pursue same objectives with 21st century tools. Mission endures, methods evolve. Requirement for skilled, courageous operators never changes. The memorial in Honolulu lists names chronologically. 345th casualties fill 11 bronze panels. 426 aircraft produces roughly 3,000 crew names. Pilots, co-pilots, navigators, bombardiers, radio operators, gunners. Each represents someone's son, brother, husband, father. Most died young, 20s or early 30s. Some bodies never recovered, lost at sea or deep jungle. Families received telegrams, folded flags, emptiness. Memorial visitors include descendants who never met their grandfather except through photographs and stories. Sacrifices feel distant to modern Americans. 8 decades and radically different world. Yet basic bargain remains. Some serve dangerous duties so others live safely. That transaction underwrites civilization. Warriors of 1943 understood instinctively. Contemporary generations forget at their peril. The strategic lesson endures most powerfully. Maritime logistics vulnerability decides campaigns. Japan couldn't survive without ocean transport. America exploited that systematically, sinking merchants faster than industry could replace them. Campaign lasted years, grinding attrition, destroying economic foundations. No single battle decided outcome. Cumulative pressure across thousands of engagements achieved strategic effects impossible through conventional combat.
Modern powers face similar vulnerabilities. The Pacific War blueprint remains relevant because geography and physics haven't changed. Ships transport bulk cargo efficiently. Ships can be sunk. Logistics remain vulnerable. The cycle repeats.
The individual stories matter as much as strategic analysis. Hayes's 64 missions. Lou's radar calls through static. Lawson's engineering persistence. Each represents personal courage repeated across thousands. They volunteered, trained, deployed, fought, because alternatives seemed worse. Abstract concepts became concrete in cockpits at 0300 hours approaching enemy convoys through darkness. Fear felt real. Danger was genuine. They continued anyway because quitting meant letting others die instead. That willingness defines military service across generations. Technology changes. Human nature persists. The final recognition belongs to those who never returned. Crews who vanished into Pacific darkness, shot down or mechanically failed, ditching into swells or crashing in mountains. Their missions succeeded or failed. Their sacrifices enabled victory. Strategic results justified campaign execution. Whether individual deaths were worthwhile remains beyond historical judgment. Each family decides personally. Nation benefited from sacrifice. Whether benefit equals cost is calculation beyond mathematics. We inherit their victory. We owe them memory. That debt compounds each passing year until history becomes abstraction. Resist that fading. Remember specifics, names, dates, missions, outcomes. They earned that much. We owe nothing less.